morning, everyone. Today we're going to make my super soft sourdough tortillas. I think they're amazing and I think you're going to love them too. And they're really not that hard. So we've gone through so many tortillas over the years. I've always purchased them. I tried to get better brands, but really the ingredient list is so long. And there's so many preservatives and dough conditioners and things in it that you just really don't want to eat. And I mean, this recipe has just basic ingredients: flour, salt, sourdough discard, some bacon grease, water. It's just really minimal ingredients and easy enough to make that you can throw them together in about a half an hour before you eat. So let's get started. First, we're going to start with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I have used einkorn to make these. Today I'm just using a regular organic all-purpose flour. Pretty much any all-purpose flour is going to work the same. Okay, so to the 2.5 cups of flour, we're going to add 2 teaspoons of salt. I am using the discard, but it's not a long ferment. You do want to get that pillowy, soft rise out of these. So we are going to use baking powder. I'm going to use 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Just going to mix that together. Okay, so we have 1 cup of sourdough discard here, and I know I show this in almost every video, but this little gadget is amazing. It's one of my favorite kitchen tools, and it's a 2-cup measuring cup. It's 2 pieces. You can measure sticky solids on the top, like the sourdough discard. You push the bottom up and it pushes out all your ingredients for you. You're not trying to scrape the measuring cup or scrape the bowl. I mean, we do have just a little bit that you have to take off the top, but it's just so much easier. And then this side you can use for liquids. I'm pouring in 1/2 cup of warm water that's at 100 degrees or less. And I'm going to add, I know this sounds like a lot, but if you're gonna make homemade tortillas, you're gonna need some sort of a fat. People use lard or different oils, shortening. That's something that I don't want to use. I would rather use bacon grease from my cooking, because when I buy bacon, I buy a really good humanely raised bacon, and it's always nitrate free. So I just save the bacon grease, and it gives me just enough for my tortillas. And this little pig is a handy thing to keep your bacon grease in the fridge so that nobody mistakes it for something else. And it's happened, it's gross, but you don't want anybody to mistake your bacon grease for something else. It has some little holes in the top, which this top part comes off. So when you're going to pour your hot bacon grease in, you're gonna have some little pieces of bacon in there that you wanna catch. Anything that you're just gonna catch any little scraps on the top so it doesn't go into the grease. And this cute little cover that goes on top. It's easy to wash, easy to store because it's not big. Okay, so we're gonna mix this together. It's easy to mix. It's such a soft dough. It comes together quickly. If you have a bowl big enough, it's great to mix it right in the bowl. If not, you can get it all together in one cohesive mass and then transfer it to your countertop if you want and knead it there. I'll go ahead and do that just so you can see it better and I don't have to hold the bowl like this. Okay, so everything's together. And you want to just knead it for about 2 minutes to get it nice and soft and pliable. I always keep one of these guys, dough scraper handy. If it does get a little overly sticky, it depends on your sourdough starter, how thick it is, how loose or sticky it is. You can have a little flour handy to put on your bench if you need to. You don't want to overuse it. You really don't want to add too much flour because you want these to be soft and they're really good texture. So you just work your muscles for a minute or two. I would say go for 2 to 3 minutes. So these tortillas can be used for so many things, not just tacos. I mean, you can put any kind of meat in them: steak, chicken, ground beef, seafood, shrimp, fish. What's something that goes really well with, if you're gonna do fish or chicken, I have a strawberry mango avocado salad on simplyeatathome.com, which goes really well with a fish taco or grilled chicken. I also have a red pickled onion recipe, which goes great on any one of those that I mentioned. That also you can find on my website. But today, I'm actually going to use it for breakfast. I'm going to have some scrambled eggs and some chicken breakfast sausage and probably a little sauerkraut. Might sound gross, but that's what I eat for breakfast a couple of times a week. I try to incorporate something fermented into every meal. And I know there's discard in here. You're probably wondering why I put the sauerkraut on. I guess I've grown to really like it, and I feel like it's missing when I don't use it. And the pickled red onions would probably be really good with scrambled eggs and sausage also. Okay, so my dough is really soft and pillowy. I'm just gonna leave it sit here for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes on the counter. I'm gonna throw a towel over it and we'll see in a few minutes. So while we're waiting for our dough to rest, I figured I'd take a few minutes and talk about my bowl. And the reason I want to share this with you is because if you don't have a giant size bowl, you really should. If you don't want to dirty your counter, I just took the dough out to show you. It would be easier for you to see on the video what I was doing to knead it on the counter. But if you have something this large, you really can do everything right in the bowl and you don't have to dirty the counter. Now this bowl I did find at a vintage sale. I don't remember if it was a flea market or vintage, a thrift shop, but it's really not heavy. It's actually very lightweight, and I use this bowl just about every day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. It is 14.5 inches across the top, and it's 8 inches deep. So, I mean, if you can go to a tag sale. Sometimes the Goodwill has great finds. Any kind of a flea market or an antique shop. Because I believe this was made in the 40s or 50s. So it's been around a long time. Surprisingly, there aren't any cracks in it. And yeah, if this is just a lifesaver for me, like I said, I use it often, and you can just do so many things in the bowl without spilling all your ingredients over the side of the bowl and without having to transfer to a countertop or to a mixer. It's just a great little, maybe not so little, kitchen find that I wanted to share with you. Okay, so I spent 10 minutes, and you might be wondering why we let the dough rest. So you want the dough to rest because it allows the gluten strands to develop, and that's gonna make it easier for you to roll out. It seems like it might be a waste of time, and why can't I just do it now? But trust me, you're gonna want it to sit and rest. It is definitely going to make for easier rolling. So I'm gonna cut the dough with, you can use a knife, or if you have one of these scrapers, you can use this. I'm gonna cut it into 12 equal parts. I'll just start by cutting it in half, and cutting each half in half, and then each section, each quarter into thirds. I don't worry about if they're all exactly the same size. And I really don't worry about getting them perfectly round either, because we're gonna be rolling them or smashing them in the tortilla press, or rolling it right on the counter if you don't have a tortilla press. If you have one that's a little bit on the larger side and one that's a little bit smaller, you can always take some off of one and add it to another. It's easy enough. It's such a great, soft, pliable dough. Okay, so we got them all rolled out, and I'm gonna show you both ways to do this. If you have a tortilla press, which looks like this, is cast iron, nice and heavy, so there's really not a lot of work involved in pressing it out. And I have parchment rounds that I keep just for this. And you put a piece of your dough between two parchment rounds, just close the cover, press with the handle, and there it is, a beautiful, perfectly round tortilla. Get our pan hot. I use a cast iron skillet for this. So that's using the press. And if you don't have one, you can just do it by hand. I have a mini rolling pin. Just roll it out. You don't want to go too thin. This is, I don't want to give you wrong measurements, so, okay. We're going to go about 8 inches if you are one of those people who like to measure and have everything perfect. So it's just as easy. Because I have the press, I like using it. It's easy for me to use, and I do like how they come out a little bit rounder with the press. Once the pan is hot, you're just going to get it into your pan. Have a spatula handy. Also have some flour handy in like a little sifter, just in case you might end up with a little stickiness that you want to just throw a little flour down. Or sometimes on the rounds, the parchment rounds, every once in a while I'll throw a little flour on if I feel like it's sticking too much. So we're just waiting to get some color on the bottom side of the tortilla. And most of the time you can see bubbles forming. Sometimes they're bigger than others. You can pop them if you feel like you don't want a big bubble on the tortilla. Sometimes the kids, that's their favorite part, so I just leave them. When you're standing and waiting, it feels like it's a lot longer, but it's really quick. If your dough tends to be on the drier side, I don't know what I did with my cutter. Oh, here it is. If your dough tends to be on the drier side and you're worried about it drying out a little bit, you can just go ahead and throw a cover over while you work with the others, but I've never had that happen. It might be the bacon grease that keeps them very moist. I like to keep them in this tortilla container to keep them warm while we're waiting. If you don't have one of these, it's perfectly fine. You just throw them on a plate, throw a towel over them, or a couple of napkins, one underneath and one on top. You can even throw a slightly damp towel or napkin on them. This just depends on your preference. So this one is done. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the warmer. And then we'll go ahead and cook the one that we did in the press. So what I like to do is keep one side of the parchment paper on. So you put it down, face down into the pan, and just pull the parchment off that way. And you can see how it is bubbling up. That's good. That means that the baking powder is doing its job. See the bubbles on it? It's time to flip. That's the color we were looking for. And just keep going. Repeat the process until all 12 of them are made. So I just wanted to show you that you can make these in a stainless steel pan. If you don't have the cast iron, if you don't want to purchase one, and you want to just use what you have, if you have a stainless pan, you definitely can make these, and they'll come out just as great in the stainless steel pan. The trick to making your stainless steel non-stick is heating your pan first before you add your ingredients. Like if you're going to put some butter or oil in the pan before you saute some onions or celery or something, you want your pan to heat up first and then put your oil in, and then it will be non-stick for you. With these, obviously you're not putting any grease in the pan, so you're just going to heat up your pan first and plop these in. And as you can see, it works just the same. So don't be afraid to get a little char on the tortillas. I mean, it just gives extra flavor, it really does. I mean, obviously you don't want them burnt, but I would let them get more than golden and get some char on there. It just adds a great amount of flavor. With this last one, I'm going to show you a little something fun. Just got the last one finishing up in the pan, and this is more of like a treat. And it's a great snack to make on the weekends for the kids, because who doesn't love peanut butter and chocolate, right? So I'm just going to drizzle on about a tablespoon or two of chocolate chips. You can put however many you want. I have some peanut butter. I'm going to go ahead and spread that on this side. Be careful, you don't want to get burnt. And for a little crunch, because once those chocolate chips are melted, there won't be any crunch. And I like some texture, I'm going to add some toasted coconut chips. Fold the tortilla over, and just let it hang out in the pan for another 20 or 30 seconds. And you really could experiment and do anything with this. You can add some mini marshmallows, you can add Nutella, peanut butter and jelly. You can add some sliced banana in there with the peanut butter and chocolate. That would be amazing. So our chocolate is melted. It really doesn't take long. And you have this great melty peanut butter, chocolate, and toasted coconut treat. Just give it a little bit of time to cool. Okay, so what I'm going to show you today is a breakfast version. I have some scrambled eggs. This is 2 eggs, 2 pieces of chicken sausage, a little bit of homemade sauerkraut, which I'll show you in another video. It's so easy to make. You really don't need a lot, just a tablespoon or 2. A slice of avocado. This is going to be really good. Add a little bit of hot sauce. Not too much, just a drizzle. Probably should have only put 1 egg and 1 piece of sausage and made 2 tortillas with that, but that's too much food for me if I add the extra tortillas. I'm just going to have it like this. It's another great way to use your tortillas. It's so good. I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you make this recipe. It truly is amazing. You're gonna wanna make it over and over again. And I think before I said that it takes about 30 minutes. If you add in the gathering your ingredients and mixing and the waiting time, the whole process really does take about 45 minutes. And this way I never do anything too fancy on the inside. Keep it basic. It's gonna taste great because you have these fresh homemade tortillas. Thank you for watching. If you want the full instructions and if you want to read my blog, go to simplyeatathome.com. Bye-bye.